Hello, and welcome to this segment that I like to call I'm a graphic designer, and this is my job, and maybe you want this to be your job too, so I'm going to teach you things so maybe we can both do our jobs. It's been a while since I posted a video. The last one was a year ago, and it was a color correction tutorial for harsh lighting at concerts in Photoshop, and it was actually pretty cool, so I think if you're interested in that, you should check that out. Lately, my graphic design has kind of been overshadowing my photography, so I also wanted to do things related to design. I kind of want to keep this channel as a log, mostly for me, also for you guys, to try to keep track of some of the things that I've learned and things that I could teach you. But I am completely self-taught, so don't take my word for it, only my word for it. I'm just speaking on my experience. A while back I made a skateboard brand called Peachy, and I really wish it was real. But I realized that I'm missing out on a very important part of branding, and that's making a branding guide. So what is a branding guide? Branding guides are important because they tell other designers working on material for a brand everything that they can do to stay within the brand's voice. That's including color palettes, language, logo usage, typography, pretty much anything that makes that brand that brand. So every brand has its set fonts, color schemes, logos, images, ways that things are used, and this brand that I've created out of thin air should be no different. So the first thing I do is gather all of my assets. I've already exported all of these assets. They're going to be used in the PDF. Another thing is I have my notebook here that I put all of my notes in. I have all the colors that I've used written down. I have the font for the word mark written down. I even have a couple ideas for how I want the page layouts to go. So with all of this information, then I take it to Indesign. Since branding guides are informational, you want to be really clear on what you're trying to tell people. I like to keep things fairly minimal. Here you can see I'm just keeping within the branding colors, nothing completely off the wall. If someone were to pick this up, like in a book form, they'd say, oh yeah, this is definitely for Peachy. So this is the cover that I came up with. I wanted something fairly minimal, something that followed within the branding guidelines, and it's going to kind of shine throughout the entire branding guide. So I've actually started filming this at a very weird time, and I have to start getting ready to go to my coffee shop job. So when I get back, I'll be finishing this up, finishing up another project, and then I'll be back to tell you about how it turned out. Maybe it's the next day because I fell asleep after work. Maybe it's not. I guess we'll never know. But what we do know is I finished that branding guide. For the more complete branding guide, I've added a few more pages, and you'll see why in a second. So over here, I have my branding guide mostly complete. This is my front page that you've already seen with brand guidelines, when it was updated, name of the brand. Everything is very clear. And on our next page, we have our logo page. I like using fun elements with the branding. You can't really read what it's saying because the type is so small, but if it were actually printed out, it would say the names of the colors, the RGB, the CMYK, and the hex codes. So as a fun little decorative page, we have our logo going across in a pattern using our two main colors of that logo. We have our general rules for how to use it. We have the logo itself. We have some examples of how the logo is used, some general rules for the logo use, and all the colors for the main logo, just in case anybody wants to recreate it. And then on the next page, we have additional element rules. So the color palettes for these different logos that I created, just to show where about colors fall. Honestly, for this brand, it's a lot of, doesn't really matter what color, as long as it's used in this similar way, and as long as these elements are created in this similar way. The rules for creating new elements are down below, just describing what makes that element unique, how the word mark can be used with those elements, and how the line arts can be used in relation to the color palettes. Again, the color palette option there is going to have the name of the color, the hex codes, the RGB, the CMYK, just every descriptor. We've also got another fun decorative page, this time with the word mark, because this now leads into the typography page. I do think that I need to round this out a little bit more as far as describing the actual fonts and the usages of these, but because it's more of a visual brand and not so much dealing with a lot of typography, it's kind of hard to have a lot of information on how these are used. So, for example, the most typography I've used so far is making this branding guide, and that's besides the actual word mark that I made. So to realistically say, oh, headlines always have to be this font and body text always has to be this font when it's not really used anywhere besides the branding guide is a little hard for me to do, but for the sake of an example, I put it there. A lot of other brands have a certain way that they like to be presented in their printed media that deals a lot with typefaces. So for them, it makes a little bit more sense, say a magazine, but for a skateboard brand, it's usually more about the images I've found. But for the sake of creating other guides, like this branding guide, just kind of put down typography rules. And that is essentially how I like to make branding guides. I started dropping frames. Now you can put more or less information in yours, it's totally up to you. It's just how I like to do it. This is the format that I tend to lean on whenever I do it. Mostly because they're meant to be more informational than creative, but you can still get creative with these if you want. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below or send me a DM to any one of my social media pages that I put somewhere on the screen. What's the thing that I'm supposed to say? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and also hit the bell icon to know whenever I post videos. I always feel so awkward saying that. I don't like saying that, right? So I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye.